pilots of the internet, welcome to Foldable Flight. My name is Kyle, and this is where I teach you how to fold paper airplanes that will blow your mind. And as you saw from that intro sequence, this plane is just unreal. Today I am teaching you how to fold Zenith, which is an amazing glider that locks both in the front and the back, which makes it very aerodynamic. And it has this really strong leading edge of its fuselage as well, which means you can throw it harder than a lot of gliders as well. And that's why this thing, despite its shape, will fly over 100 feet if you trim it properly. And that is insane for a paper airplane shaped like this. The only other plane on my channel that I can even really compare this to is Atlantis, which is another glider that just glides so gently and so beautifully. And you won't be surprised that they actually share some similarities in their folding sequence as well. Now, as many of you know, with my paper airplanes on YouTube, I love to design templates that you can print off and fold to make your paper airplane look like this, rather than just a plain white sheet of paper. So that is available to all of my patrons on Patreon who support me at the templates and more tier or above. And so if you're interested in this template or any of my others, go ahead and click that link that's in the description and head over to Patreon. Now, I'm going to give a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video, and then I'll show you the plane in flight once more and teach you how to fold it. This video was made possible by Power Up. Turn your paper airplane into a smartphone flying machine. And use promo code FF10 to get 10% off your order at poweruptoys.com. All you need in order to fold Zenith is an 8.5 by 11 inch sheet of paper, and we will begin by folding this right edge to the left edge. As always, symmetry is important, so try to get this first fold to be as accurate as possible, as well as any future folds, but this is dividing our plane into two halves that hopefully are equal to one another. So once we've done that, we're actually going to go ahead and fold this edge here to our folded edge. And once we've done that, you can go ahead and flip this over and you'll actually fold this edge here to that folded edge as well. And we can open that back up like so. I'm going to actually flip it over so that this middle fold is a mountain crease and the others are valleys. And what I want to do now is I'm going to fold this top point to the bottom point, and I'm just going to tack the center right here. I'm just making a reference. I don't want to crease all the way across the paper. And now I'm going to fold the top edge to that reference, and this time I will crease all the way across. Now I'm going to fold our new top edge to this edge right here. And again, I'm just going to make a reference. I'm just tacking right there, and I don't need to crease all the way across. And next, I want to take my paper and fold it in half on that existing center crease. And I'm going to rotate it so that my folded edge is my top edge right here. And what I want to do is I'm going to create a crease that, if you can see, here's our reference that we just made by folding this edge to that edge. So it's right equidistant between those two edges. And we want to create a crease that goes from that point to this point right here, where this crease intersects this edge. And I'm going to actually crease on two layers. You can see I'm pulling both layers as I fold this. So just looking at that reference that we made there, and this right here as my other reference, I'll go ahead and make that crease. And now I'm actually going to flip the paper over, and you can see we have that crease on the other side as well, but I want to pull this way and actually make that crease on this side too. And now while we have this standing like this, we're going to perform what is called a squash fold by pushing down on this spine here that connects this layer and that layer, while forcing a finger inside the pocket. And you want that to open up all the way to this corner here. And we want to land this crease that we're making right on this edge right here, but actually just pushed inside of it. If you can see, you don't want it to land right there. You want it to be just inside. And before I really make these creases hard, I make them gently here, I'm going to pull my paper this way and force that other side. You can see here, I'm just folding on an existing crease. I've forced that to the other side, and I want this spine here, this crease, to land right in between this layer and that layer to make sure my two sides are symmetrical. And then I can crease this here and this on the other side right there. So it should look like this on both sides. Now I'll go ahead and open both of those up like so. You can see I've basically got it like this, and I'm just swinging these two flaps in opposite directions and flattening my paper like this. And my next step is just to fold this edge right here, this top edge, to this diagonal crease. And I can flip it over and perform the same step on this side, where I'm just folding this edge right here to this diagonal crease. Okay, and once we've done that, you can see we have this flap. I'm just flipping that flap back to the left, and I'll push this other flap behind so you can see our two sides are identical once more. And next we're going to do the steps that lock everything together. You can see I'm going to rotate this just a little bit to my preference so that this edge is kind of vertical away from me. And what I want to do is I'm going to pull this whole tab down. Let me do this and I'll explain to you how I decided exactly how far to pull this down. Okay, so you can see I've created this crease. Basically what I did was I want this edge right here to land just inside this edge here. And I want this edge here to go as far down as possible while this edge lands on this corner of this pocket. Because you see what we're about to do, I'll go ahead and perform the next step, which will really make some sense of what I'm doing here. I want to tuck this into this pocket that exists right here, that pocket. And so I'm literally just pushing this in like so, curling it in, and you can see I wanted this edge here to land inside that corner, otherwise this wouldn't fit into the pocket. So I'll go ahead and do that on the other side as well. Just flipping it over, pulling this down. Again, I want this edge here to land just inside this edge. And I'm sliding this down just until it gets to where it hits that corner of the pocket. Smooth my crease out as much as I can, and now I'm going to curl this and stick this into that pocket. I can kind of use a finger to force the pocket open and curl the whole thing in like so. And there we go. So you can see your plane is kind of in this weird position now where everything's locked together. And what we can do next is we're going to set it in this orientation. And we want to fold from this point here down to approximately this point back here. But actually, I'm going to aim my crease just a little bit above that point, and I'll explain why in a second as well. I'm literally going to give it less than a 1/4 inch maybe from that pocket, or from that corner rather. You're going to have to start at the front and really work to curve these thick layers at the front into the general position, and then work towards the back from there, because these thicker layers are really the ones that are going to fight you, and the back will be much easier to control. So you can see here my crease hits a little bit above that corner. And I will flip my plane over and fold this wing to match the first wing. Which means I really got to work these thick layers again and swing it into position, and I really want to land this corner here on this corner here to make my wings symmetrical. You can see we are almost done. We have wings on both sides now. But as I lay this down here, I'm trying to work out some mess I've made. While I have this laid down here, you can see that especially this side is bulging outwards. And what I want to do, this side I'm surprised isn't, usually it does. But what I want to do is I'm going to sweep out and address that so that that is much flatter to the plane, like so. And you feel free to do that on either or both of the sides of your plane. And now I'm going to go ahead and show you, when I flip this over, we really are almost finished. And when you look at that back edge, the reason we did that is because if we folded right to this corner and your plane dives and crashes or something, there's a really high probability, there's no flexibility there, there's a really high chance that it's going to tear. And so that's why we didn't do that. But now all we have left to do is fold little winglets on either side of the table, or either side of the plane. Sorry, I was distracted because the table was wobbling. Either side of the plane, and then we are good to go. So this is just going to be a small little winglet or fin on the edge of the wing that runs parallel to this central fuselage. And once I've folded one, I will go ahead and match my wings up and fold the other one to be as close to the same as I can make it. And there we go. That is a finished Zenith, and this plane, you can see from that angle, it's just so aerodynamic. It is beautiful in its precision, and that is what makes it fly so well. It locks both in the front and in the back, and it just is so narrow and closed, and the layers all hug so tightly. Now, I will say, its balance is not perfect, which means you're going to have to make a few adjustments when you're throwing it. When you first throw it, it likely will dive slightly downward. Now, that might not be the case based on your own folding, but I've found that it usually does dive slightly or just not glide as beautifully as it could. And so you may find that you have to add, just the slightest curl upward at the back of the wings near the fuselage like I'm doing. And that is called giving it up elevator. That will force the back of the plane down slightly and the nose of the plane up slightly, and that will help it to generate enough lift to stay aloft really well. What you will find though is it is a little finicky. If you add too much elevator, it is going to climb and stall and then crash. And there's a sweet spot in the middle, and it is a very sweet spot. You've got to really dial it in, where if you get that right, this will glide perfectly over 100 feet, which is really and truly incredible.
And while we're talking about ways to improve your paper airplane experience, that's where Power Up comes in. Turn your paper airplane that flies into something that really flies. Power Up converts your paper airplane into a smartphone flying machine. Just download the app, attach the module, and take to the skies. All of the modules are quick to charge, easy to use, and are virtually crash-proof. PowerUp invites you to make many planes in many shapes because every plane brings with it new tricks and with them new gasps of excitement. Follow the link in the description and use the promo code FF10 to get 10% off your order at poweruptoys.com.